With San Mateo County, where deputies are on the scene of those two separate shootings with multiple victims, both of those shooting locations in Half Moon Bay.
And in just the past 15 minutes, our chopper spotted a man being taken into custody at the Half Moon Bay Sheriff's Substation. A law enforcement source tells us that suspect drove himself there, and deputies found him in the parking lot.
Here's a look from our camera on the ground right now. This is the different view of that suspect being taken into custody.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, this video is brought to you by Lerner & Rowe. Lerner & Rowe. Ladies and gentlemen, Lerner & Rowe is one of the largest, most recognized law firms with 450 plus legal professionals that are ready to help you 24/7 anywhere in the United States of America. They're focused on helping fight against these insurance companies that try to devalue your injury claim. The truth is, if the insurance companies want to come in after you and trying to nickel and dime you and not giving you what you're worth, there will be no Lerner & Rowe. So if you were involved in a car, a truck, or motorcycle accident and it wasn't your fault, if it was your fault, I don't know what to tell you. But if it wasn't your fault, they can help you. And they've been able to collect billions of dollars for their clients in the last 32 years. And they've done more than just about any law firm in the United States of America, period. And there's no fees until you win. Lerner & Rowe is that confident. If they are waiting until you win, because they sure you're going to win, to collect their money. That should tell you something about a law firm, is that they are that confident that you're going to make some bank, that they're willing to wait till you win to collect their money. In a wreck and you need a check, I should be a rapper, then you need to get with Lerner & Rowe. All you have to do, the link is in the description section. You go to lernerandrowe.com/YouTube/Officer-Tatum. lernerandrowe.com/YouTube/Officer-Tatum. That link is in the description section if you get everything I say. And also, I want to make this point about Lerner & Rowe, is they're also philanthropic. They help out and they contribute with a big Christian faith-based organization, and that's one thing I love about Lerner & Rowe. So hit the links in the description section, like and subscribe to the channel. Y'all already know what to do. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. I find it quite interesting, and I don't want to belabor the point of this shooting and the violence that has gone on in the last few days in California, especially the 12 people who were murdered at the hands of a deranged man, 72-year-old man. And I don't want to say his name because I don't like to give these people too much credence. However, this was a very unfortunate situation. Right now, there's no clear motive. There's been indications that he could have been targeting his ex-wife. There's indications that he could be targeting, the certain event because of whatever malice that he felt in his heart. Some articulate that he had this blank stare. You have to be a complete lunatic to shoot and kill that many people for no apparent reason. It's not like a heat of passion situation where you have a person getting upset and going off the rails in an instantaneous act of violence. This is someone who pre-planned this particular situation and then waited for the event to unfold at the Star Ballroom Dance Studio on the Lunar New Year, which is the Asian New Year, waited for that to commence, and then he opened fire and began shooting and killing people, killed multiple people, and then before killing himself. Now, this could have been a situation where he was upset with his ex-wife, or it could have been something a little different. I mean, nobody knows specifically. Obviously, his ex-wife isn't here to tell us a story, and we don't really know what his motives were. But I think that we'll find out soon. The media, in my personal opinion, this is why you can't trust the media, because they are not going to be honest if it's not conducive to pitch the narrative that they want to pitch. If it's not going to pitch their narrative, I don't think that they're too interested in this. There's not going to be riots in the street. There's not going to be a conversation about Asian on Asian violence, about Asian is the new white supremacy. There's going to be no conversation whatsoever about this. When we have two Asian situations or Asian people committing heinous acts of violence in the span of a few days. The other situation left about 7 dead. I think this left 11 dead. The one that was at the Monterey Park in California, or Monterey Park, California. And then this other one was an Asian man who in Northern California on Monday decided to open fire and kill at least 7 people. This is if this was white people, they'll be claiming that this is all to do with white supremacy and toxic masculinity and all of these things. But when it's Asian people, they seem to be falling off a cliff and they're nowhere to be found. I'll add this. We talk about gun violence. Gun violence does not have a race, a name. It has a character, and that is evilness. Just because you own a firearm don't make you an evil person. I have plenty of guns. I have a lot of ammo. And there's no way whatsoever am I going to go out and use my gun to do damage to somebody unless it's in self-defense or in the defense of another person. And that's the story for probably 90% or 95% of the people. Hey, probably more than that. Probably 99% of the people who own guns aren't even motivated whatsoever to go out and kill people unnecessarily, or at least not motivated enough where they're going to carry through with it. Now, do they think it in their mind? I would argue that 50% of people with guns probably think about killing people in their mind, but whether they take that to fruition is another story. And let me just say this. You talk about toxic masculinity, all of those things that they try to add on if a white person is involved. It's funny, they're not going to even dig and do any research or have any conversations about why are these older Asian men cracking up all of a sudden. Could be an isolated situation. Hey, a man is upset with his ex-wife, probably because she took all his money, or he may be a nut job. And then you go on to the other shooting where you look up the case, and I don't really know if there's a motive, but it was definitely targeted at a specific event. Let me read the article real quick so we can have some context here. It says at least 7 people were killed and 1 person seriously injured after a gunman opened fire at 2 agricultural businesses in Northern California on Monday. Authorities say in the latest or the last mass shooting that hit the state in a matter of days. The shooting unfolded on the outskirts of the Half Moon Bay, a coastal city of roughly 11,000 people about 30 miles south of San Francisco. And this person decided to do that. The wounded victim was taken into the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The suspect shooter, identified by authorities as an Asian man, I'm not going to say his name, 67 years old, was arrested within hours with video captured by the NBC Bay Area showing him surrendering to authorities at the sheriff's substation. Now, there's no real indication, as far as I know, of a motive behind that, but you can see in 2 days you got 2 Asian people in the state of California who've decided to go off the rails. Now, we all know that many people are going to go off the deep end to try to ban guns. I wish that politicians were genuine in their approach to decide, are we going to ban guns or we not? Are we going to create legislation or we not? They're not genuine in their approach.
I mean, the Second Amendment's becoming a suicide pact, it feels like. I mean, it's just, and that's the only question the community wants. How are you going to, what about our kids when they're going to school? What more can we do? And, again, we look at that all the time. I mean, we did another half dozen gun safety bills last year. We'll continue to find whatever loopholes we can. We'll continue to lead the national conversation on gun safety reform. And the data bears out it works. It saves lives. California's 37% lower gun death rate than the rest of the nation. And yet, with all that evidence, no one on the other side seems to give a damn. They can't get anything done in Congress.
I understand the sentiment. I understand people are like, enough is enough. People are just getting mowed down. How can we defend ourselves? And the answer is not to ban everybody who has a gun. First of all, it's not going to happen. Second of all, and I would argue most importantly, it's in violation of our constitutional rights. So what's the solution to the problem? When you have people who are showing signs and symptoms of foolery, then we have to address those issues. And this is where I have a conflict with some people when it comes to the red flag laws. I think that we should, as a society, should be able to remove a person's guns if they are legitimately crazy. Not because you don't like their political views, but somebody who's mentally disabled and who's pursuing killing other people. Now, the alternative would be do nothing and then hope for the best when they go shoot up a club, when they go shoot up innocent people, go shoot up your family. So I think that there should be measurements in place. And it shouldn't be on a federal level, it should be on a state level, and it should be a thorough evaluation of a person's mental state before actions are being taken. And those actions can be reversed at any point in time where the person is reasonably deemed to not be a danger to himself or other people. This situation happens all the time in the state of Arizona. Now, I don't know if the laws have changed since I was a police officer, but we had people that were a danger to themselves or others. They threatened to kill people. They were suicidal, homicidal, all of the above. And those people were taken to a mental health facility. They were treated, evaluated, and deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. And therefore, law enforcement officers had the right to remove their guns from their home. And then when they are on their medication and they're functioning properly, or whatever the case may be, then they can easily get their guns back because it's their right to own them. But at some point, we need to make a stand in that direction of identifying people who are a threat. And those people who are a threat, and it can't just be identified by a politician. It has to be something that's thoroughly evaluated by a doctor, which then, in my personal opinion, for it to go into a state of certainty, should be evaluated by another, more than one psychiatrist or psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever the case may be. That should be the measurement. And I think that we can start to see a difference being made. If you look at the shooter in Uvalde, was mentally ill, was making ideations of homicide. These things can be curbed. You look at the shooting in Parkland, you go down the list. These people are nutty. Now, there will be cases where people nut up and they were normal, right? They get crazy, but they were normal yesterday. There are cases that may happen. And this is why you need more law enforcement officers, and you need people to own their own firearm. Now, in cases where you have a club situation or you have a party situation where people are drinking, you don't want them carrying firearms, there needs to be adequate security. There needs to be adequate police officers that are present. And that's going to come with more police funding, and also people who are throwing parties being required to have some level of security. And if they don't have a level of security and they get killed, then they can't blame anybody. If I throw a party right now, I need to have security or carry a gun, and therefore I can be able to defend myself and the people who work at our facility here. So I think there's a lot of a conversation, or much more of a conversation to be had related to this subject. But I honestly believe that this is not a situation where we need to use leverage to ban guns from every person who owns a gun. It is just absolutely disingenuous, stupid, and should never occur in the United States of America, or frankly any other country around the world where people believe in freedom.